Welcome everyone to the Fall 2021 Town Meeting. My name is Donna Cabibbo and I'm your moderator. I declare that the warrant has been duly posted, published, and that the reading of the warrant is hereby waived. Excuse me. I now ask that we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to recognize the town officials that are here and the committee members that are here today. We've got from our select board, Mr. Charles Schultz, Ms. Erin Underhill, our town council, Jay Tallerman, our finance director, Carol Johnston, our assistant town clerk, Kathy Smith, our town clerk, Lisa Harden, and our town administrator, Mike Kaczynski. A special thanks to everyone who helped make this meeting come together and make sure that we were all safe and seated everyone tonight. Before we actually get into the business of the meeting, I want to put a little plug out there for all of the committee openings that we currently have in the town. It's often said that the world is run by those who show up. I think in town government that's especially apropos. These people that come forward to work on our committees and be appointed bring a special set of talents, and the bigger that pool is, the bigger special talents we bring to the world. So we are currently have openings on the Council on Aging, the Cultural Council, the Energy... I'm sorry. Energy Commission, is that better? Okay, so should I start all over again? I'm joking. So we have openings on the Cultural Council, the Council on Aging, the Energy Committee, the Recreation Committee, Enterprise Funds Advisory Committee, as well as the Oak Grove Farm Commission. I urge everyone to consider serving the town by volunteering their time, and if anybody is interested in any of those positions, they should contact the town administrator's office. So is anybody here for the first time tonight? First town meeting? Welcome. I very much hope this becomes a normal part of your routine to attend town meeting. I can't move this closer, so hold on a sec. Is that better? Okay, I'll try really hard to look up and speak out. How's that? I'm sorry, what? Okay. With just a couple of procedural issues, please stay in the seat that you chose. Don't go moving yourselves around too much. We are still working on a socially distanced environment within here. And masks are mandatory throughout the entire meeting in this building. So even when you come up to the microphone, you need to keep your mask on as you're speaking. So please make sure you speak loudly, which I wasn't doing well, and I apologize, and all that. And I would ask that when the meeting concludes that you all leave quickly, because they do have to reset the school for school tomorrow, which means cleaning the building after usage tonight. Okay, so we are here to consider 15 articles that are presented on the warrant. And first I'm going to ask your consideration that there are some important articles on this meeting warrant that require a 2/3 vote. Under Mass law, I cannot declare such a majority without either a bylaw or your approval. Accordingly, to avoid lengthy standing counts, I move for your approval for me to be able to declare a 2/3 vote, provided that if I cannot reasonably declare such a vote, I will direct the tellers to conduct a standing count.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes with a majority. Okay, so the Finance Committee reviews all the articles and budget proposals and presents the recommendations to you. As the
Madam Moderator,
Yes.
I'd like to report that there is unanimous consent in the cafeteria as well.
Okay, thank you very much. That was my oversight. We also have overflow in the cafeteria tonight, so there is an assistant moderator presiding in there. So the moderator, as a moderator, I'm your elected official and I preside over the town meeting. Your role here is to consider the articles, debating them, deciding how to deal with them, and consideration through voting. So there's some procedures for tonight's meeting. Most of these were handed out in your as you came in, but I'm going to read them as well, and if anybody has any questions, we can work through that. We will consider the articles in the order in which they are presented in the warrant. It is possible to advance the consideration of an article by majority vote, though I urge you to stay for the entirety of the meeting as all articles are important. Articles are presented through a main motion by the Finance Committee, then seconded. A Finance Committee member will then describe the recommendation and reasons. Debate will follow in the form of statements, questions by town meeting members, which are Millis registered voters. Please be aware that the motion as presented may differ from the warrant article. We will be discussing and voting the motion as presented by the Finance Committee. All town meeting members are eligible to address town meeting on an article. Please direct all of your comments through the moderator. Personal exchanges are not appropriate. Please be civil and respectful. Be considerate and allow others the opportunity to speak. Only comments directed to the article currently under consideration are in order. Amendments can be made to a main motion and can be made at any time during debate. This must be in the form of a motion to amend and must be seconded. The amendment should be presented in writing. When debate is complete, the motion to amend will be voted upon. Once the amendment is decided, we will return to the main motion. Multiple amendments may be considered, but only one at a time. Once debate is over, a vote will be taken. All votes are initially by voice vote. If the voice vote is unclear, then I will call for a standing count. Majority vote is typically required on any motions, though certain articles need 2/3 or 4/5 vote to pass, and I will notify you of such motions. Special motions. Motion to reconsider. It is possible to move to reconsider a previously decided article at the end of the meeting only after all the articles have been dealt with. There must be new information to be presented to make this motion, and it must be seconded. Motion to move the question. This is a motion to end debate on an issue. If this motion is seconded, it will be voted on. There is no debate on this motion. This requires a 2/3 vote, and if passed, debate on the original motion ends and the meeting must move on to the main motion. Motion to adjourn. In order to end the meeting after all the articles have been dealt with, the moderator will accept a motion to adjourn, but requires a second and a majority vote. So those are the major rules we will follow tonight. There's one article that's going to be coming up, Article 9, and we will be dealing with that a little differently. And once we get to that point in the warrant, I will let you know I will outline, the process in which we will deal with that motion. At this time, I call upon the Chair of the Finance Committee, Peter Berube, to introduce the Finance Committee members and address you regarding their deliberations.
Good evening. Thank you for attending this year's Fall Town Meeting. I'm Pete Berube, current chairperson of the Finance Committee. Other members of the Finance Committee are Jody Garzon to my left, Doug Riley behind me, Joyce Boyardi, Jim Borgman, not here tonight, Kathy McGinnis, Sarah Reyes, John Stedman, and Peter Underhill. Members of the Finance Committee are volunteers. There are 9 appointed positions. During the run up to the Fall Town Meeting, we typically meet once per week from late August to early November. During winter and spring, we typically meet once per week from February to May in preparation for the annual Spring Town Meeting. In-depth knowledge of public finance or administration is not required to serve on the Finance Committee. Working knowledge is gained in time during multiple budget cycles and mentorship by the other committee members and town officials. During this cycle, we held extensive discussions on the many warrant articles and issues before you tonight. Town and school personnel, as well as board and committee representatives, answered our questions satisfactorily. My intent as committee chairperson was to ensure committee members had ample opportunity to give their viewpoints and time to consider those views prior to making final votes for committee recommendations. I did not seek to achieve unanimous votes. Rather, I facilitated thoughtful votes on the issues as presented to us with no cajoling. In some instances, our votes were unanimous. In others, our votes were split. In my opinion, that's perfectly okay, as not all articles have uniform impact on our fellow neighbors. I am confident we worked diligently to provide the recommendation that is in the best interest of the town. If you or someone you know is interested in serving on the Finance Committee or another volunteer committee, please reach out to the town moderator, Ms. Donna Cabibbo. our emails can be, or myself, our emails can be found on the official town website. And I do anticipate a vacancy on the Finance Committee starting in the spring. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on to the first article, I'd like to just be clear with the people in the cafeteria that if anybody in there does wish to speak, the moderator there will let me know that they have risen to speak, and they are welcome to join us in the main room here as appropriate. Okay. We will now move on to consider Article 1. Oh.
I move that the reading of the warrant and return of service thereof be omitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Berube.
I move that the moderator be granted unanimous consent to omit the reading of articles and to refer to them by number and subject matter.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow me to read, I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm sorry. That the moderator be granted unanimous consent to omit the reading of the articles and to refer them by number and subject matter. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, I wasn't sure what I was hearing. We will now move to consider Article 1.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Garzon.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $13,167.05, transfer the sum of $357 from sewer enterprise reserves, transfer the sum of $465 from water enterprise reserves, and transfer the sum of $358.97 from stormwater enterprise reserves for a total sum of $14,348.02 for unpaid bills as written in the warrant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. For Article 1, any discussion?
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Garzon.
this is an annual article to fund bills incurred in previous fiscal years which have not yet been paid. Fiscal year 2021 ended June 30th of 2021, and these bills listed in the warrant were received after that date. The unpaid bills for this town meeting total $14,348.02. The Finance Committee recommends approval of this article, which requires a 4/5 vote.
Any further discussion on the article? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes with a 4/5 majority. Article 2.
Madam Moderator,
Madam Moderator,
Yes.
I'd like to report that the vote was unanimously in favor in the cafeteria.
Thank you. I apologize, there's a little bit of a delay here, and I apologize. I will wait next time to make sure that Mr. McCaffrey answers. So now we're going to move on to Article 2.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Garzon.
I move that the town vote to transfer from marijuana impact fees, free cash, the sum of $184,478, and transfer from free cash the sum of $65,000, and transfer from water enterprise receipts the sum of $214,000, for a total sum of $463,478 for additional wages and expenses not sufficiently funded under Article 3 and Article 6 operating budgets of the May 1st, 2021 annual town meeting, as written in the warrant, except with the removal of the townwide social worker for $60,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further any discussion?
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Garzon.
This article requests the transfer of $50,000 from free cash to increase the fire repair fund and $15,000 to fund various changes to positions due to an approved SEIU collective bargaining agreement. In addition, funds for various programs and staffing, including $60,000 for a new townwide social worker, are requested, totaling $244,478 for marijuana impact fees earned in previous fiscal years. Finally, this article would authorize the transfer of $214,000 from water enterprise receipts for water tank maintenance. This article was discussed at length in Finance Committee meetings and pre-town meeting. Finance Committee members have expressed support for a townwide or school social worker, but a majority were uncertain of how the position would be employed and supervised, and whether it would be a new school position or a town position. Thus, by majority but not unanimous vote, the Finance Committee recommends approving an amended article that would transfer $184,778 for marijuana impact fees, excluding $60,000 for the new position of a townwide social worker, but unanimously recommends approval of all other items included in Article 2.
Thank you. Any further discussion of Article 2? Any discussion in the cafeteria?
None indicated.
If there's no further discussion of Article 2, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Well, what was the vote in the cafeteria?
Cafeteria vote was unanimously in favor.
Okay, so unanimously, Article 2 passes. Article 3,
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Berube.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $495,348.75 and transfer from water enterprise reserves the sum of $12,508.75 and transfer from sewer enterprise reserves the sum of $12,508.75 and transfer from stormwater enterprise reserves the sum of $12,508.75 for a total sum of $532,875 to fund the following capital items as listed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Article 3 as written. All those, sorry,
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Berube.
this article appropriates funding for 14 capital items and projects valued at $532,875. The Capital Planning Committee reviewed 27 department requests for capital purchases and projects and provided recommended prioritization to the Select Board and Finance Committee. Candidate projects were assessed for funding consideration based on factors such as regulatory and statutory requirements, criticality of need, health and safety risk to the community or employees, public benefit, revenue generation, or potential to reduce operating costs. The 14 projects for funding appropriation are as follows. Library and high school fire alarm master box, $15,000. The standard for large structures is a radio fire alarm system. All municipal buildings have already been converted. These fire alarms are the last municipal systems to be converted. Middle school, high school walk-in freezer, $45,000. The existing unit needs replacement. The unit was installed in 1999 and had a life expectancy of 15 years. Repair costs are increasing and impact kitchen operations at the middle school, high school. Police cruiser, $51,444. Car 44 is requested for replacement, consisted with the Millis Police Department's vehicle management plan, but was deferred during the spring budget cycle. The police department plans a 7-year life for these heavy-use vehicles. The lead time on a new vehicle is anticipated to be nearly 12 months due to supply chain constraints. DPW snowplow, $12,850. This appropriation would fund a new plow for truck number 3. The existing plow is 16 years old It cannot be further welded or repaired for use this coming season. Middle school, high school elevator upgrades, $80,000. The two elevators in the middle school, high school require major maintenance in order to keep them operational and prevent the need for early replacement. Investment now should extend their use by another 6 to 10 years. Council on Aging freezer, $8,031. A replacement freezer is requested to support the Council on Aging's Meals on Wheels program. Oak Grove Farm Playground renovation, $127,006. This project is to repair the border, restore the playground surface, and improve access to the playground at Oak Grove Farm. This project does not replace the playground apparatus. DPW excavator, $50,035. The DPW needs a compact excavator for safe and efficient digging. This excavator will be used for water, sewer, and highway maintenance activities, as well as by the cemetery department. Assessor's iPad software update, $22,762. The requested iPad and software will be used to modernize and streamline data collection and entry for the assessor's office. Council on Aging Senior Center upgrades, $19,217. This project will replace flooring in room 19, as well as flooring in the foyer of the Council on Aging space. Building Department filing system, $18,000. The current filing system for the Building Department's plans is neither organized nor secure. The Building Department has repeatedly requested resources to improve its ability to store and maintain documents and drawings. Middle school, high school steamer kettle, $50,000. A steamer kettle is used to cook and keep warm numerous food items. The existing unit is nearly 23 years old and is unusable because it has a hole in it. Energy management charging station, $26,800. This project would supplement a $50,000 grant from the Mass DEP to install an electric vehicle charging station at 979 Main Street, which is adjacent to the library parking area. The charging station is available for use for a fee and has the potential to generate revenue. Pleasant Meadow Park picnic tables, benches, and signs, $6,730. Funding for this initiative would provide picnic tables, benches, and improved signage at the Pleasant Meadows Park along Pleasant Street. Approval of the article requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend approval of the article.
Thank you. Any further discussion of Article 3? Sir,
Madam Moderator?
please.
Hello?
Yes.
Is this working?
Can people hear him?
No.
Speak right into it.
Oh, I am. There we go.
There we go.
Yellow. Nathan Maltinsky, 431 Exchange Street. My question is on item number 7, Oak Grove Farm Playground renovations. Who presented this article to the committee?
Mr. Brewer.
I'll defer to Mr. Kaczynski.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Madam Moderator?
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes, the Oak Grove Commission submitted this to the Capital Planning Committee for funding. It was my understanding that they were going to attempt to get support from the Community Preservation Commission for funding of this, but the Capital Planning Committee and the Finance Committee had not received any formal word as to the disposition of the Community Preservation Committee on this item.
Madam Moderator?
Mr. Maltinsky.
Yes, the Oak Grove Farm Commission did come forward to the CPC committee on March 4th and October 7th with a prepared plan of the renovations to the playground. And the committee was pretty much in favor of the project. We were just looking for final numbers and a final plan from the Oak Grove Farm Commission to be presented. They did not, in turn, have that plan together before a town meeting, so we could get an article in and vote on it as a committee. So I was a little amazed that this came on to the Article 3, instead of through the CPC, which was willing to do the funding for this project. I think this should be revisited as far as potential funding. Instead of taxing the taxpayers, this is money that's available already through the CPC, and it could be in a Springtown meeting warrant once they have all their numbers together and a proposed plan.
Madam Moderator. I would just comment that the article as presented, if approved, would provide the potential for an appropriation to be made. If there's alternative sourcing that comes available, it could be used in front of the free cash that it is requested as part of this appropriation. So if the Conservation Commission has funds that they want to provide for this project, much like many other projects that come about that are, for instance, the charging station, there's a grant that will go towards that project. This simply provides the appropriation, doesn't lock the money in to be used for that, and if there is outside source funds available, they could be used in place of the money that would be, or the funds that could be appropriated.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion of Article 3? I'm sorry.
Good evening, Madam Moderator. Can you hear me? I don't want to yell like Mr. Norton.
That's a little better, thank you.
I have a question on...
Can you please identify yourself?
Oh, Brutus Cannareggi, 7 Blueberry Lane. Item 13, the charging station for $26,000. How many vehicles the town of Millis have that could utilize this?
Anybody?
Madam Moderator.
Madam Moderator.
Mr. Schultz?
I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you, Madam Moderator. This would not be for town vehicles. This is a charging station where people would pay in a parking lot to charge their vehicle. There's a credit card slot where they could slide it in, charge, and leave. We receive a federal or state level grant, I don't know if it's federal or state, for $50,000 of this, and it there's a cost recovery program on it that I'm not sure of the details on. But it will generate revenue. It is a good piece for our energy conservation management group, and it will be for private individuals, not the town cars. It'll be a fee for service, as most parking garages have now.
Madam Moderator?
Sir?
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. So what's the payoff on this? $26,000? Someone must have done, I mean, if I bring my car down there, is it $1 to fill it up? Is it $10? $26,000, when's the payoff on that? And how long is this charging station going to last? I mean, like any asset, we do a study on it, we figure what's value. I appreciate the fact that the town got $50,000 in a grant, but now you ask us to pay $26,000, so how long is it actually going to last for? Has that been done?
Yeah, we're going to pass it on.
Madam Moderator?
I'm sorry, I can't see.
Madam Moderator,
Sorry, there we go.
if I may ask Robert Weiss, our energy manager, the town's energy manager, to answer that question?
Thank you.
Madam Moderator,
We can't hear you, you need to speak further into the
when I
mic.
get closer, I'll be behind it.
Maybe it's not on?
Maybe it's not on. There we go. Madam Moderator, Robert Weiss, I'm the town energy manager, the town planner, and the economic development director. So kind of have to answer this as all three positions. Let me get right to the point of whether this is going to pay for itself. At this point, we don't know. However, we do not know what we will be charging. It will be a going rate. We can, if we wish, set the rate so that the town makes money on it, or so we have it lower where we would perhaps make less money on the charge, but use it to bring the drivers of electric vehicles into town. That pleases me as the Economic Development Director. Very few towns around here have charging stations. It is the future. We do see electric vehicles going through town. And the first thought was it is a great way to bring business into town for some of our businesses. And that will help our businesses thrive, which will help with the tax liability for residents. So there's a number of, well, anyhow, that's pretty much my reasoning. It's not just an energy thing, but it's also an economic development thing.
Madam Moderator?
Sir?
I do understand what he is saying, but $26,000 to me, you know, economic development, first thing that comes to mind, let's pick the sidewalks in Exchange Street right down there. $26,000 would easily pave those and get rid of all the tripping hazards down there. You're going to put a one charging station in behind the library, and that's going to draw people to town? Is that what you're, one station?
Madam Moderator?
Sir?
The charging station will be listed on the GPS of anyone who has an electric vehicle. So when they are in the area and they're looking for a charging station, it will direct them to the station behind the library.
Thank you.
We can't, Madam Moderator,
Sir?
we built that huge parking lot out back now, and no one uses it.
Sir, I think that's not really germane to the discussion of.
I'd like to, Madam Moderator, I'd like to modify Article 3, make an amendment, that we remove item 13, charging station, until a feasibility study is done on timing that this would pay for itself, so we can have a more informed decision of the value of this.
So can you restate your motion, please?
I hope to. I'd like to modify Article 3, item 13, to remove the charge.
Excuse me, sir, you make a motion,
I would like to make a motion
okay, to,
on Article 3, item 13, to remove the charging station of $26,800 to a time we can fully evaluate the cost, effectiveness, and benefit of this item.
excuse me, sir, you can make a motion to remove it, but if you're looking to make a motion to do something other than remove it from the article, as in look at it in a different light or bring it up in a different manner, that would not be covered there. So if you want to make a motion to remove it at this point in time, that would be appropriate.
Madam Moderator, I beg your forgiveness. I am not an expert at this.
No, that's why we're helping out.
I would like to remove number 13 from Article 3.
So the motion has been made and seconded to remove $26,800, number 13, from Article 3, which would reduce the overall amount to $506,075. Any further discussion of the motion to amend? Mr. Berube, do you have?
No.
Hi, Judy O'Gara, 63 Van Cleek. I
Can
just
you
have a
speak?
question.
Can you
Oh,
move
yeah,
the
let me
microphone
just-
down and speak? Thank you. Go ahead.
I just have a question. It's been put on the table about studying this. How much does a feasibility study cost?
The motion
Yeah, it
is
doesn't matter.
simply to take it off of this article. There is no
Understood.
further action being taken at this time.
Hi, this is Jennifer Farrar, 7 Rolling Meadow Drive, trustee of the library. I just want to know if there is a motion to take it off if we would lose any of the grant money that we could potentially use.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yes, the $50,000 grant funds, I believe, are not available for much longer, perhaps, I believe, a year, Mr. Weiss? 2 years. So the town has 2 years in order to exercise the grant funds for this. So it would be possible at a future meeting to add this, if that's what the body tonight decides.
Okay, just what time we're
Excuse
talking,
me,
like time
direct your
frame? Oh,
question.
sorry, what time frame are we talking? Like, when did the clock start on the,
Mr. Kaczynski?
like, do we have one more meeting to try?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
I think the
When-
question is, when did the clock start on the grant? Do we have one more town meeting cycle or 2 more town meeting cycles to address
I
this?
believe we'd have at least 2 more, we'd have another year at a minimum to come back and ask for these funds.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Moderator,
Sir?
the grant, the clock has started, but the grant is available until June 30th of 2023.
Thank you for that clarification. Any further discussion on the motion to amend? You can just identify yourself, that'd be great.
Christopher Staples, 190 Village. I understand Bruce's disagreement with the high cost. However, I just want to add that as I have a plug-in Prius, and I go to towns and I do look up on the GPS and like park my car where it's got a pretty low range for an EV, but that is something that I do, and I think that it's a future forward statement. Waiting for more certainty will lose the possibility of stepping into the future, I think.
Thank you. Any discussion in the cafeteria on the motion to amend?
No discussion.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion to amend? Okay, I'm taking a vote on the motion to amend, which would amend the article to remove item 13. All those in favor of the amended motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Okay, we're going to try that one more time. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. I'm going to call for a standing count. So can we secure the doors and the tellers can do their thing, please? Didn't hear that comment. Are the tellers ready? Okay, so if you are in favor of the amendment, please stand and stay standing until you're counted.
We vote no on this, or? No, thank you. I didn't know what vote we were taking. As am I, but I just didn't know what the vote was, yeah. My thought is maybe the price.
Got it. Thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, probably weatherproof, you know? But they make $2 an hour to charge your vehicle. You know? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we can do it.
Yes vote for the amendment.
Get better.
Yeah.
I've been wrong before.
I know, that's
Well, not for COVID, for other things, yeah. This is just people on the water. Like, I don't know.
Oh, no, well, including the workers?
Yeah.
Maybe including the workers is 6,
Not an overwhelming.
no, not less than a dozen.
Okay.
We have one non-worker,
One non-worker.
one non-worker,
Well, you should consolidate.
and that is Mr. McGinnis, Steve McGinnis.
Okay.
For some
Anybody
reason,
masked? Everybody masked?
what?
Everybody masked? Well, there would be non-masked.
No, not yet, no, they have to.
Right there, you sit right in front of me.
Okay, please sit down. And all those that are opposed to the motion, please stand. And stay standing until you're counted. I didn't say it. And that includes the cafeteria, yes, okay. You can sit down now, please. So the tellers have counted the standing vote, and we have 54 yeses and 53 noes. So the motion to amend carries. We will now vote on the motion as amended, the main motion as amended. Any further discussion on the motion as it has been stated and amended? That included the cafeteria vote. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. When I see no further discussion, all those in favor of the amended motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Cafeteria?
Motion's carried unanimously.
Motion carries by a majority. Article 4.
Madam Moderator,
Mrs. McGinnis.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $5.6 million to pay costs of making water treatment plant improvements at the DeAngelis Water Treatment Plant to address excessive levels of PFAS identified in wells 1 and 2, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to GL Chapter 44, Section 8, Parens 4, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. All or any portion of the borrowing authorized by this vote may be obtained through the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust. The Select Board is authorized to apply for, accept, and expend any state or federal aid that is or may become available for these purposes, and the total amount authorized to be borrowed by this vote shall be reduced to the extent of any federal or state grants received on account of this project. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of said bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with GL Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount or take any action related thereto.
Article 4 has been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Madam Moderator,
Mrs. McGinnis.
wells 1 and 2, known as the DeAngelis Water Treatment Plant, located near the DPW garage on Water Street, have been shut off for use since September 3, 2020, because test results showed a high level of per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances known as PFAS that exceeded the state level of 20 parts per trillion. Millis is fortunate to have a total of 6 wells, 4 of which PFAS test results are well below the state maximum allowed. These remaining 4 wells are tested quarterly for PFAS and luckily are able to pump what is necessary. However, Millis cannot continue to depend on wells 3, 4, 5, and 6 to carry our load. The town received a $197,990 state grant, thank you to our DPW Director, Jim McKay, which was used to begin design of a PFAS treatment facility for wells 1 and 2. At this past May town meeting, voters authorized $200,000 to complete the design. The design consultants have concluded that $5.6 million is required to build this treatment facility. The Select Board unanimously voted that this borrowing will be paid for by the Water Enterprise Fund, who are the water municipal users. There are approximately 2,700 users of municipal water who will pay for this article. This article will cost each household serviced by municipal water approximately $142 per year in year 1, down to $82 in year 5. Please remember that this amount will be lowered as new municipal water users join our Water Enterprise Fund, that being so far 100 units at Regency, formerly known as the Glen Ellen Country Club, 48 units at Emerson Place on Ridge Street, 98 units at 114 Union Street, 17 units at Hammond Lane, approximately 45 units at Woodlawn Subdivision located at Main Street and Cottage Ave, 48 units at Main and Dwight Streets, and the assisted living facility on Bridge Street, and that's to name a few. The good news is that the town has been allocated $2.4 million from the United States Treasury, known as the American Rescue Plan Act. In order to receive these funds, the town must have an approved plan. Passage of this article will permit the Select Board to designate some or all of these funds toward the construction of the treatment plant for wells 1 and 2. Applying all of these funds would lower the amount to be paid by municipal water users as follows. Year 1 would go to $82 per year, sliding down to $47 in year 25. The Finance Committee unanimously recommends approval of this article. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. This will need a 2/3 vote. Any further discussion of Article 4? Please use the microphone, sir.
Madam Moderator, I am Theodore Iorio, 36 Forest Lane. I've been in the pharmaceutical industry for over 60 years now, and I have several questions. How is the spent charcoal going to be handled?
So,
Because you take the contaminant, you absorb it on the charcoal, and now eventually the tanks, as I see in the picture, get all the contaminant, okay? Now, somehow you have to either replace all the charcoal periodically, or you have to have a method to drive it off the charcoal, okay? And usually that's with steam. You steam it out, and then you take that condensate from the steam, and you still have the contaminate in that water, and then you have to deal with that water. So how is it planned in the system?
sir, I'm going to ask Mr. McKay, our Director of the DPW, to address your question, please. Thank you.
Madam Moderator, James McKay, Director of Public Works. I think Mr. Iorio answered his own question. The charcoal filters will be replaced periodically, which is approximately every 2 years. Every 6 months depending on how the system works, they will be flushed out, and the building is designed to have a holding tank underneath the building, and that water will be discharged into the sewer system. And it will be treated at we are applying for a permit at the Charles River Pollution District.
Thank you. Further discussion of Article 4?
Madam Moderator,
Sir,
so this contaminant will be discharged into the Charles River? That's what I'm getting.
excuse me, sir. Mr.
We
McKay.
have a big problem in the pharmaceutical industry, what to do with these contaminants.
So you're asking whether contaminants are going to be flushed into the Charles?
That's what I
We'll let
just
Mr.
heard.
McKay address this issue as well.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. That, again, the question is, it will be discharged into the Charles River Pollution District. They are aware of this, and that's how all this water is being discharged. It's the cheapest way. We could not tanker the effluent away, so it was, when we file for the permit, just like most businesses in Millis and that discharge into the Charles River Pollution District, they have a permit and they will be monitored for what is being discharged into the system.
Thank you. Further discussion of Article 4?
Madam Moderator, that does not get rid of the problem, because putting it in the river, all the towns down the river, from the Charles River, have wells next to the river. So the increase of load to each one of these systems is going to be greater. And I suspect plants upstream will do the same thing as we're doing if they have contamination. Okay? So we haven't got rid of the product yet. We just passed it on to the neighbor. Okay?
Thank you. Any further discussion of Article 4? Okay, this does need a 2/3 vote. Oh, Mr. Berube.
Madam Moderator,
Mr.
would
Berube.
you kindly, through you to Mr. McKay, clarify that discharge from this DeAngelis PFAS treatment plant will be discharged to the Charles River Pollution District, which is a wastewater treatment facility not directly to the river? I believe that's the clarification that is needed.
Thank you. Mr. McKay.
That is correct, and the district treats what is and what's acceptable that can be discharged into the Charles River District. And if I can just state, to answer the previous question, this is all through a permit. This is permitted through the Mass Department of Environmental Protection. We just don't decide we're going to discharge it into the Charles River Pollution District. We have to have a permit to do that, and they are under that direction, meaning the Charles River Pollution District.
Thank you. Further discussion of Article 4?
Madam Moderator, Scott Hughes, 411 Union. I just want to thank Mr. McKay and the DPW. A lot of work, like Ms. McGinnis said, has been put into this. I think the right thing's being done. We need to fix the problem, so thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion of Article 4?
I'm not questioning whether it's needed or not, okay? It's definitely needed to do something with this, okay? But you haven't solved the problem. It's going to come back and bite you sometime. Because I know, based on my experience in the pharmaceutical industry, and I put in several plants in different countries, okay? And I see this problem, okay? As regulations get stronger and stronger. At one time, you could dump anything you wanted into the Charles River, anything you wanted anywhere in the ocean. The regulations get stronger and stronger as the testing gets better and better. It's down to parts per million, parts per billion. The second question I have is, it was mentioned that the facility would be expanded to treat the wells 1 and 2 and probably 3 and 4. Does that mean there's 2 more plants scheduled?
I'm also going to ask Mr. McKay to address this question, please.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. At this time, we're looking for the DeAngelis treatment plant at wells 1 and 2. As outlined from the explanation, that the other wells are below the 20 parts per trillion. The closest one that we have is well number 3. That is an average of a 3-month is around 17 parts per trillion. So if, what we're looking for tonight is wells 1 and 2, the Judge DeAngelis treatment plant.
Thank you. Further discussion of Article 3, in Article 4, excuse me. Sir?
The next question is, where is this contamination coming from? Does it continually come down? Because the literature I have read is that the towns should invest the source of the material, source of the contamination, rather than just dealing with it, because it's much more expensive to deal with it. The other thing, and I'll leave, okay, is that an alternative, of course, is for every household to put in their own either carbon system, costs you about $100 for a this about 5.5 inch by 24 inch.
Sir, we're really trying to stay to the article that is in front of us, and discussing other
Okay.
options are not really germane to the discussion. Mr. McKay, would you like to address his last question, or is there another person more?
Please don't, Jim.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what was the first part of the question, if you could repeat
Where is the contamination coming from?
So that is being addressed through our engineering firm and through several businesses in the general vicinity. And to that question, once it's in the ground, it's very expensive to remove it. I mean, that would mean every granular of sand would have to be removed for that. So this is this for the ratepayers is the cheapest and most efficient way to remove the PFAS in wells 1 and 2 Judge DeAngelis treatment.
Thank you. Seeing any further debate or discussion on this item? Okay, seeing no further discussion, I'd like to take a vote on Article 4. We do need a 2/3 vote on this. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? I have a unanimous vote in the auditorium. The cafeteria?
The vote is unanimously in favor of the article.
Thank you, Mr. McCaffrey. So we have a unanimous yes to Article 4. Article 5.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Underhill.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $370,000 to pay costs of purchasing and equipping a new ambulance designated A1, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to GL Chapter 44, Section 7.1, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. Any premium received upon the sale of any such bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with GL Chapter 44, Section 20 of the general laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
Second. It's been moved, Article 5 has been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Underhill.
if approved, this article will appropriate $370,000 for new ambulance for the fire department. Ambulance A1 is a 2007 with 140,000 miles. The last 2 inspections have noted frame and body rot as an increasing concern. In the past, we have replaced ambulances every 10 years, and this one has lasted us 15 years. A new ambulance will take 285 days from date of order, so if approved now, we will not receive the new ambulance until August of 2022. The Finance Committee recommends approval of this article.
Any further discussion of Article 5? Cafeteria?
No discussion?
Oh,
Hi, Jacqueline Dion, 18 Emil Farb Street. I'm just curious, how many ambulances do we currently have?
Mr. Kaczynski?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. We have 2 working ambulances for the town.
And that includes A1?
I'm sorry?
Excuse me, can you direct that?
Sorry. Does that include ambulance 1, the one that you're trying to replace?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other discussion of Article 5? Sir?
Good evening. My name is Kim Piwan, 27 Cottage Ave. Instead of replacing, Madam Moderator, is there any way to repair the chassis issue?
Mr. Kaczynski, can you address that?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I don't believe so. As stated by Mr. Underhill, this vehicle is quite old. It is 140,000 miles on it. In my discussions with the fire chief, there's no doubt in his mind or that of those that maintain this vehicle that it's the time for a full replacement of this vehicle. So my understanding is it definitely does need a full replacement at this point.
Thank you.
Madam Moderator, I have another question.
Sir?
When we do purchase this new ambulance, will it come with a special coating for the chassis so we won't have this problem down the road?
Mr.
I
Kaczynski.
cannot answer that question, but certainly there'll be an issue we'll be taking up with the manufacturer. Since it's come up here, we'll make sure that that question is asked and addressed.
Any further discussion of Article 5? This does take a 2/3 vote. Is the cafeteria all set, Mr. McCaffrey?
Yes, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. All those in favor of Article 5, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes by 2/3 in the auditorium, the cafeteria.
Unanimously in favor, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Article 5 passes by the 2/3 majority. Article 6,
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Berube.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $750,000 to pay costs of purchasing and equipping a new fire engine, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7-1, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
Article 6 has been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Berube.
Engine 1 is a 1987 engine. It does not meet state, federal, or current ISO safety regulations. Engine 1 is an open-air cab without seatbelts and fails emissions regulations. Its use has been prolonged by employing it as the third of 3 required pieces of apparatus for firefighting responses and only filling in as a primary pumper when Engine 2 and the ladder truck are out of service. However, that is not to say that Engine 1 is not relied on. Rather, when the primary apparatus, Engine 2, required over $16,000 in repairs and was out of service for a month, Engine 1 was temporarily moved up to run in its place. During that time, it broke down numerous times and failed performance checks and safety inspections. A replacement engine costs approximately $750,000. Engine 1 is programmed for replacement next year, but because the lead time to build the replacement vehicle is nearly 500 days, and a fiscal appropriation is required before it can be ordered, a vote to approve is sought now. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend approval of this article.
Thank you. This does need a 2/3 vote, and is there any further discussion of the article?
My name is Bob Herbzuber, 29 Jameson Drive. Has the town looked
Excuse me, sir,
into-
can you speak up
Oh,
or
I'm
get
sorry.
closer to the mic? Thank you.
Has the town looked into getting any grants? I know for a fact that we are a population under 10,000 people. That means that we are, or could get a USDA rural development grant at either no or very low interest. Has anything been done to look into grants?
Mr. Kaczynski?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I have had some discussions with the fire chief in regards to this. The fire chief and his department are outstanding at seeking grants whenever available, and they have been successful at doing that. It's my understanding in speaking with the chief that no grants were available at this time for the purchase of this vehicle. I will certainly follow up with the chief. If anything becomes available moving forward, we will seek it, regardless of the vote this evening. But again, I'm not aware of any grants available for the purchase of this fire engine at this time.
Any further discussion of Article 6? Mr. McCaffrey, anything in the cafeteria?
No discussion, Madam Moderator.
Okay, so I'm going to take a vote, and again, this is a 2/3 vote as well. All those in favor of Article 6, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes by 2/3 in the auditorium. Mr. McCaffrey?
Unanimous vote in favor of the article.
Thank you. Passes by the 2/3 majority. Article 7.
Madam Moderator,
Mrs. Reyes?
I move that the town vote to approve increasing the senior tax work program amount from $1,350 each year to $1,500 each year pursuant to MGL Chapter 59, Section 5K.
Article 7 has been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Madam Moderator,
Mrs. Reyes?
this is an existing program which allows residents over 60 to have their property tax liability reduced in exchange for volunteering for the town. This article is asking for the increase in order to meet the new state minimum wage increase. There are currently only 21 slots available with 100 hours per slot, a maximum of $1,500 per participant slot. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to approve this article.
Any further discussion of Article 7?
Madam Moderator.
Sir?
Bruce Cannon, Reggie 7 Blueberry Lane. I just want to make sure the veterans can also do this, right? I think that we adopted that in town. I'm kind of doing this as a public education. Is that true?
Can somebody confirm that, please?
Yes, that is true.
Thank you, Mr.
I just want to make sure our
Kaczynski.
veterans at home realize, not just senior, that they can sign up for, at any age. You could just come back and you can use this.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion of Article 7? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously in the auditorium. The cafeteria?
Unanimously in favor.
Thank you. Article 8.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Underhill.
I move that the town vote to amend Article 1, Section 7.1B of the town's stormwater regulations by adding subsection 10 as follows. Setting bottom floor elevation of buildings as a minimum of 2 feet above seasonal high groundwater elevation.
Article 8's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Underhill.
if approved, this article will amend Article 1, Section 7.1B of the town's stormwater bylaw regulations by setting the bottom floor elevations at a minimum of 2 feet above seasonal high groundwater elevation. This amendment was proposed by the Board of Health after consulting with several construction contractors in town. This article will make future construction less likely to flood by avoiding groundwater by not digging into it. This is proposed to be tied to the stormwater bylaw, so it would only be considered if development requires an acre or more of land disturbance. An average single-family home on a standalone lot or a building addition would most likely not trip this requirement. The Finance Committee recommends approval of this article.
Thank you. Further discussion of Article 8?
Good evening. Bruce Garrett. I think it's excellent. Thank you.
Sir?
Madam Moderator, Mike Giampietro, 121 Orchard Street. I'm also the building official. We had some discussions when this first came up with the Board of Health. One of the requirements was to make sure that it doesn't impact the single and two-family dwelling units. However, the building code 780 CMR.
Sir, I'm having a little trouble understanding you. Can you move closer to the microphone and speak up a bit?
How's that, better?
Much better, thank you.
Sounds good. The building code 780 CMR, which is our state building code, addresses water issues and is not part of this regulation. So when a contractor comes in for a building permit, it's going to be extremely difficult to enforce this because of the two regulations. And it just so happens that the building official is the enforcement authority for stormwater regulations through the Board of Selectmen, who issues the permit. And I am also the permit issuance for the building permit application, which is not in 780 CMR. So, in my opinion, it's kind of in conflict with the building code. It's going to be, I know it's over an acre of disturbance, and the engineers will design it when they go through the subdivision control law. However, when they come in for a building permit, you could have a contractor come in and start disputing it and challenging the regulation. So I would just want the voting body to know that this could be problematic in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion of Article 8?
Yeah, John McVeigh, the Director of Public Health.
You need to move closer to the microphone, please.
Hi, yes, sorry. Director of Public Health, John McVeigh, Millis. Just to reiterate the benefits of this proposed article, talking with Beta, the town's engineer, it would effectively assist with the elevation and hydrology issues for groundwater on projects. It would eliminate the need for sump pumps and foundation drains, which is a plus. And we know that where that gets pumped could cause icing problems out in roads and so forth. If electricity fails and sump pumps fail, we know that finished basements can be ruined, mold and other water damage. Typically, items or pesticides, oils, other hazardous materials may be stored in basement areas, and if there's flooding that occurs, that could then contaminate groundwater, which we don't want to see as well. There is many benefits to having this article for the 2-foot separation. I just want that to be on record. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion of Article 8? Sir?
Yeah, hello, Tom Roach, 78 Bold Lane, Millis. Also, I'm a local builder. And I think that...
Please speak closer to the microphone. Thank you.
I think that to have this regulation put in as a blanket for all building, excluding a couple things that were mentioned as a mistake, because there's other things to consider when you just raise a building 2 feet. For instance, Millis, a lot of parts has a high groundwater table, and you're talking about if you bring in a lot of fill into town, all right, on different if this were to go through, because you have to lift the foundations up, and if bringing in fill would require permits, as in earth removal permits or earth transporting permits. So that's one issue. The building height, Millis has a building height regulation of residential buildings of 35 feet. You start lifting buildings up 2 feet might not seem like a lot, but it is a lot, because a lot of the buildings in town now, they're close to that. So that's another issue. I think that, you know, a lot of building practices are, you know, they need to have engineers, to be engineered, and a lot of building is done in groundwater all over the place. I don't think it's the theory isn't bad to when you can lift that foundation 2 feet above the table, but I really think it's a mistake just to pass this as a blanket issue. You have sloping lots. If you have a sloping lot coming down and that water table, some people might not realize it, but the water table actually follows the ground. It's not like the water table's down low. That water table can be on top of the hill. So you'd have a foundation sticking out of the hill and not a good building practice. So that's my thoughts, and I think that I don't think this should be passed the way that it reads right now. And if I could, I'd like to make, I'd like to make a motion to amend this article.
Feel free, sir.
Okay, so what I would suggest at the end of the
You
language.
need to actually put it in the form of a motion, so I make a motion to amend.
I make a motion to amend this article, that at the end of the proposed language, that it should read, unless a groundwater drainage system, pump or gravity, designed by a professional engineer is installed, designed by a registered professional engineer is installed.
Could you please read that again, sir?
So I would like to add the language at the end of the sentence that's proposed, that should read, unless a groundwater drainage system, pump or gravity, designed by a registered professional engineer is installed.
Do I hear a second to this amendment? Is there? Okay, so there's been made a motion to amend by adding to the end of it, unless a, I'm sorry, sir, do you have a written?
Unless a registered professional.
Do you have a written copy of this motion, sir? It would just make this easier for everyone, that we get the wording correct. Hold on. Thank you. Okay, so we are making a motion to amend by adding to the end of this, unless a groundwater drainage system, pump or gravity designed by a registered professional engineer is installed. So this amendment has been moved and seconded. Any discussion of the amendment? Do we have any discussion of the amendment in the cafeteria? Sir,
No,
are you
Madam
coming
Moderator.
down to discuss the amendment?
This is
Sir?
John McVeigh, Director of Public Health, Millis. I'm not sure, but I think that amendment is already in the state building code right now. I mean, that essentially would allow what is already in existence, if that's correct.
Can someone speak to that?
Moderator Mike Giampietro, 121 Orchard Street.
Thank you.
The amendment to this article has no reflect on the building code. It makes this article more conducive to work in buildings. The water is mitigated through 780 CMR. I think the amendment is a good amendment. I think you should consider it. And the building code, like I did say before, handles a lot of the water situations. However, will help this article be more conducive to work with.
Thank you. Any further discussion of the amendment? Cafeteria?
No discussion?
All those in favor of the amendment to Article 8 as stated, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The amendment carries. So now we'll vote on the article as amended. Is there any further Oh, I'm sorry, the cafeteria, I thought he already said that. Cafeteria?
Voice vote is evenly split, Madam Moderator.
May I ask how many people are in the cafeteria?
Substantially less than are in the auditorium. It's not quite a baker's dozen, right?
Based on the numbers in the cafeteria, I'm going to declare that this majority has passed. The amendment has passed, and we will now vote on the amended motion. So now, any further discussion on the amended motion?
Madam Moderator.
Mr. Berube.
Pete Berube, 8 Rose Road. I just wanted to clarify a couple of points as a regular guy, not on the Finance Committee. So a couple of points for clarification. It's been said twice now during this discussion that this would result in properties being built up 2 feet, when in fact a property with a basement would have to be built up with an average ceiling height in the basement of 8 feet. It would have to be built up 6 feet in order to stay 2 feet above that groundwater level that this targets. And another point that I'm speaking against the article. Another point that Mr. Gianpietro made was that it's unenforceable. I think there's time to get this right. I don't think this is the right article to be voted on in favor. Thank you.
Any further discussion of the amended Article 8?
Madam Moderator. Bruce Ganner, G7 Blueberry Lane. I make a motion to dismiss this article.
That motion is not in order. The motion on the floor needs to be discussed and brought to a vote.
Yes, Ms. Moderator. Once again, I'm learning. To go on, Mr. Berube, we're sitting here in a form of government. We have 2 of our top officials in town, the Board of Health and the Building Commissioner, and they should sit down and work out an amendment that we all can come in and feel confident they can work together as a community.
And the way that we can move forward with that, if that's your opinion, is that you vote against this amended motion.
Exactly. That's why I said it. Thank you.
Any further discussion of Article 8?
Christopher Staples, 190 Village. I just wanted to ask, and if anybody knew what neighboring towns do, and I actually wish I would have beat Brutus, because maybe he knows what they do in Franklin. Do we know?
I don't think that's really germane to the conversation that we're having regarding Millis. Any further discussion of the amended Article 8? So now we're voting on the article as amended with the language that we've added with the amendment. This is a majority vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? No. Cafeteria?
Majority votes no.
The motion does not pass. Okay, so we are now moving on to Article 9, and we are going to deal with this article a little differently. This article is very lengthy.
Madam Moderator?
Sir? Mr. McCaffrey?
Yes, this is, yes, I would ask that the moderator grant my request to vacate the chair so that I can participate in the debate, and ask Assistant Moderator Bonnie Hilton to take the chair in the cafeteria.
I grant that consent. And if Madam Assistant
Thank you, Madam
Moderator Hilton, I would ask if there are people in the cafeteria that can come into the auditorium for this debate in an entirety, that would be very helpful. if we all could do that, so that we're all in one room for this. If there are unmasked individuals, obviously that can't happen, so if someone could let me know the makeup of that room.
They do.
I'm sorry, I heard a negative, but I don't know what that...
I can't get close enough to that, too.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Hilton?
are there sufficient socially distanced seats in the auditorium for 12 people?
Yes, there are.
Thank you.
All masked, as long as they are all masked.
Any voters?
Ms. Hilton, are we making this move?
Yes, Madam Moderator, we are on the way.
Okay, so I am going to declare a 5-minute recess while we reorganize the room. I would ask that people, unless you absolutely have to, do not move during this recess. Thank you.
Carrie. We have 4 up front. We have 4 seats up front. Direct them our way.
We got 5 minutes to run, but go for it. Aaron, just goes over this way with the pumps and butters that they every time.
I'm going to pretend that we weren't just sitting next to each other at the other meeting. So we.
My money was on 9:30. We still may.
Ms. Hilton? Has the room been cleared, the cafeteria? Okay. I'm going to give everybody a moment to get settled and just confirm that all the members that were in the cafeteria are now in here and are comfortably seated. Okay, if everybody could take their seats again, please, we can move forward. So Article 9 is very lengthy and complex, so we will be dividing the question to vote on it, which means that each of the sections, as noted, will be a separate 2/3 majority vote. Each vote, as it's discussed and voted, will be binding, so that once that section is voted, it is done. The Finance Committee will make the main motion. They will give you their initial reaction, and then we will move forward with our discussion of the article. I would recommend highly that if you have any intention of amending or making any kind of a motion, that you've taken the time to put it in writing, and if you haven't, I would take the time right now to do so. This is a complex issue. We know that there's a lot of issues involved here that have long-term effects, and we want to be clear that we've discussed them and given them their due. And each of these votes will need a 2/3 vote to pass, if in fact we go down that route with them. So, at this point in time, I'm going to ask that we make a motion for Article 9.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Riley.
I move that the town vote to petition the Massachusetts General Court
to file for special legislation to amend the Town of Millis Charter as written in the warrant.
It has been, Article 9 has been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Riley.
this article proposes to amend the Millis Town Charter in several ways, which will be discussed in more detail in a
Excuse me,
moment.
Mr. Riley, can you just speak up a tiny bit,
Yep.
please? Thank you.
Just a quick recap so everyone knows where we've been before we got here. In 2019, a charter review committee was appointed and charged by the Select Board to conduct a comprehensive review of the town's structure of government, policies, and procedures. Town charter stipulates that such a committee be formed at no less than 10-year intervals. Over the course of about 18 months, with some interruption due to the pandemic, the committee held more than a dozen public meetings, interviewed more than half a dozen people, including current and former Select Board members, town clerk, town administrator, other town employees, and consulted with the town council on multiple occasions. The resulting recommendations were presented to the Select Board, and the article before you was chosen and submitted by the Select Board. Very quickly, as a member of that committee, I'd like to acknowledge the diligent work of my fellow committee members, Nancy Sitta, Doreen Hayes, Diane Germain, and the committee chair, Chris Sapphire. Thank you all. Before we get into the discussion, just let me reiterate a couple of things to keep in mind as we go through this. We're not voting on whether or not to adopt the proposed amendments. We are voting on whether to petition the general court asking for an affirmative vote from the legislature on a special act approving the amendments. If the article, in whole or part, is approved tonight, the charter amendments do not become effective. It must first go to the State House and be affirmed by passage of a special act. Then it must be submitted to the voters, where it will only become effective if a majority of the ballots are cast in favor.
Thank you. Sir?
Madam Moderator,
Can you speak up? That mic doesn't sound like it's on almost. Oh, much better.
it's on.
There we go.
I believe it's actually a wet mic.
And all the spray of disinfectant.
I'd like to address the method of amending the
Can you
charter
please
that's being
identify
proposed.
yourself,
I'm
sir?
sorry. My name is Jim McCaffrey, 21 Jameson Drive in Millis. Again, I'm questioning the issue with respect to the method of offering an amendment to the town's charter. I'd like to start my comments by indicating that if you look at the first page of the town charter, it says Town of Millis Home Rule Charter. It was adopted 45 years ago, and the most important concept is home rule. Under the charter, the way it is written, we organize our town government, and we give ourselves the power to amend it. Since 1977, there's been no reason to go to the state legislature to ask them to amend our charter. We can amend it, and we should amend it when we think it's appropriate, but we should do it ourselves. Under the charter, there's a process set forth. 3 steps. First step is prepare. Second step is propose. Third step is approve. The charter amendment assumes that the preparation of the amendment will be done by the Select Board. Prepared amendments to the charter, typically after it's reviewed by the Select Board and also a charter review committee. And once that is done, it is presented to the town meeting. So there's a preparation. That's the first step. Second step is to propose. The proposal comes when the brings the warrant article is brought to the town meeting, and the town meeting will decide, as was indicated, whether or not to propose this article or this charter amendment to the voters. The last time we did that was in November of 2019. It's wonderful to
I know, to hear yourself.
To hear
It's a
myself.
beautiful thing.
Unfortunately for my wife, she now has to hear me 3 times, but in any event. We did this methodology. We've done it about 7 times since 1977.
Excuse me, sir, can we turn that off by any chance? No, I can hear myself echoing, that's really bad. Wonderful, proceed.
Anyway, as I was saying, that we've done this before, this methodology. We've done it about 7 or 8 times since the charter was adopted. Last time we did it was in November of 19. So we prepare, we propose, and then we adopt. Now, adoption is by the voters of the town in secret ballot. That's the way the charter sets forth the way to amend it. And in that model, I would submit that there's no reason to submit this to the state legislature. State legislature adds no value to the process. It, in a sense, abrogates our right to amend our own charter, and it's a totally unnecessary step. The charter, however, and which may be why we're doing this, has one exception. And that exception to the prepare, propose, and approve model is if you want to change the composition of the select board, or if you want to change the way the town meeting operates. In those situations, those 2 limited situations, the proposal process comes from an elected charter commission, elected by the voters to consider whether or not a change to the board or a change to the town meeting is something that should then be proposed for action by town meeting and the voters. This is presumably why we are seeking some kind of methodology which goes to the state legislature rather than going to a home rule commission which the voters of this town elect. Why should we do this is the question I pose to the meeting and to the proponents. Why wouldn't we follow the provisions of the charter which we have adopted and we've operated under for almost 45 years? The charter itself was adopted pursuant to the action of a charter review commission, which was elected by the citizens of Millis. I think that the appropriate way to do this, frankly, is to reconsider the methodology so that we can follow the provisions of our own charter and obviate the need to go to the state legislature. I think the voters of Millis have much more interest and will give it much more attention than a legislator from Boston, Norwood, Springfield, wherever, because that's where it goes. So from my perspective, I don't see any reason for us to go ahead and try to amend the charter in this fashion, because I believe that there is a stated way for the charter to be amended following our own rules and regulations. This in no way questions or undercuts the work of the Charter Review Committee, which from my perspective clearly indicated the next step should be for the select board set in motion the process that we elect a commission at the next annual town meeting, next election, to review this proposal. So I would make a motion for us to lay this on the table or delay conversation until a later date. Excuse me for, oh, sorry, I do have it written down because I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, sir, could you clarify your intention here?
My intention is to offer an for a motion, for action by the, to move to refer for further consideration the method of amending the charter provisions mentioned in Article 9.
Do I hear a second to the motion to refer? Second. One moment, please. So as we are here right now, the discussion is about this motion to refer. Not the main motion on the floor, but this motion to refer for further consideration the method of amending the charter provisions mentioned in Article 9. Has anybody got discussion on the motion to refer? Ma'am.
Nicole Riley, 258 Village Street. I would like to just add on top of what Mr. McCaffrey just said, not only has the town of Millis adopted the home rule for our charter, the home rule is set out under Mass General Law. Our legislature gave us these provisions under Chapter 43B, I believe, that we could adopt the process that Mr. McCaffrey has just set forth. So the legislature has given us the option for those tools. We voted as a town to utilize those tools by adopting the home rule procedure. So the idea of now turning it back to the legislature and asking them permission when we have a process, we've already put in place a committee that has worked diligently, and to turn around and ask our legislature to do this, really, I have to agree fully with Mr. McCaffrey. Under state law, we have no reason to do this, and we shouldn't be turning to our legislators, asking them how we will run our town.
Thank you. Any further discussion of the motion to refer?
Madam Moderator?
Mr. Riley.
Yeah, everything that Mr. McCaffrey said is in fact correct, and there is only one piece of Article 9 that would, that is responsible for the decision to go to the state legislature for this. And I think that it's fair to say that the reason for choosing the method that was chosen is simply because it is simpler and it is quicker. And there are other towns that have done similar things. Town council has consulted with the Attorney General, and this approach is appropriate should the town vote at town meeting to move forward with this. The process of changing the charter is supposed to be difficult, and in this case, it is difficult. It has to get past this town meeting with a 2/3 vote, it has to get past the state legislature, and it has to get voted by the majority of registered voters. The alternative, the prescribed methodology, which is statutory and referenced in our home charter, would require someone to initiate a petition, gather more than 1,000 signatures, get that certified, have the select board put on the ballot a question of A, whether or not we should form a charter commission, and additionally vote for 9 members, each of whom would have to get 25 signatures in order to become a valid candidate. There would then be 18 months, it could be quicker, but it's up to 18 months for the Charter Commission to study and present its findings. Those findings would have to be vetted by the Attorney General's office in order to make sure that the recommendations did not conflict with state law. And then it would again be put on a ballot for the registered voters to vote on. So essentially, all that we've done, and this was done based on consultation with town council and the Attorney General's office, is found an alternative method, meaning we have a method in the Home Rule Charter, but it is not the only method that is possible to make this particular change. And so I would submit that while I agree with Mr. McCaffrey in a sense that we don't need to go to the state legislature to do this, we have the ability to do this on our own, that it was determined by the select board that this would be a reasonable alternative and could make the process faster and easier.
Thank you.
This is Jennifer Farrar, 7 Rolling Meadow. I would like to ask the town council what's the basis for this as an alternative. I'm an attorney. This is my profession to write charters. I'm not a municipal attorney, but I don't understand the basis for deviating from what's set out in the charter to go another route, and why it's reasonable. If he could let me know what he's basing that on.
We are discussing the motion to refer, not the vehicle that was proposed, but this motion to refer. So I'm going to rule that that's really not a germane question. Any other discussion of the motion to refer?
Madam Moderator,
Yes.
Lisa Harden, Town Clerk in 56 Walnut Street. I'm going to speak in favor of the motion to refer. None of these changes are urgent. There's nothing where we have to do it faster. It's not necessarily easier. There's no reason why we can't take the time we need. I will say that there's no guarantee that a special act would then get voted on, because we have actually made 2 changes to our charter in 2005 and 2009 that were in the form of a special act, which had way more verbiage in the article than this does. It was voting to ask the Board of Selectmen to petition, and then there was it put it in the form of an actual act, because I don't think the way it's written now, the legislature is going to want to even look at it. But anyway, those 2 instances where we made changes to the charter by a special act, they were never voted on afterwards on a ballot. So there's no guarantee that that's what's going to happen if we do it this way. So I am going to speak in favor of referring it so we can get this all written out properly. And it also, there's so many different topics here, they should all really be separated. Thank you.
More discussion? I'm sorry, the lights are really glaring here. I apologize if I keep acting like I can't see, but I can't see.
Madam Moderator?
Yes?
Pat Sjogren, 642 Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
I speak in favor of the motion to defer.
The motion to refer?
To refer.
Thank you.
Excuse me. We do have all this information, as Mr. McCaffrey was stating. It is written out very clearly in our Home Rule Charter. I see no reason to deviate from this. And also the Charter Review Committee that was formed was not formed, it does not appear to have been formed in compliance with the Charter Review Committee recommendations as is on the website for the town of Millis. In that, excuse me, there are 5 members, yes, but 3 of the members are appointed, which goes against what says in here. There are not enough members at large, and the committee chair happens to be an appointed person also, which is not recommended in this makeup of the Charter Review Committee. So I think that we need to revisit this and defer, whatever the correct term is, take some time, do it the way it's supposed to be done, not rely on the state legislature, rely on us. Thank you.
Please, don't clap. Thank you.
Madam Moderator?
Yes?
Jim McCaffrey, again. Just very briefly, I understand that it is legally permissible for us to take the route, the so-called simpler route, through the state legislature. I think the fact that we can do it doesn't mean that we should do it. And I respectfully request that this town meeting vote to refer so that we can address this through the process that we think is more applicable to our town under our home rule charter. Thank you.
Further discussion? Don't run, no rush.
Madam Chair, Loring Barnes, 191 Kerr Street. Through the chair, I believe to Town Council, I would like to ask to be informed about the timetable that would exist as we add some more delays to this process, where the committee was formed in 2019. Granted, there was a pandemic and things like that, but where the charter says you have 10-year intervals, can you just explain to us what we would be pushing out? Are we starting from 10 years from tonight? Is it 10 years from the day that the committee was first formed? If you can just enlighten us, that would be helpful. Thanks.
Jay Tallerman, Town Council.
Good evening. So the 10-year interval thing it's prescribed as something that is a minimum requirement. You could amend your charter every year by a special act if you so desired. There's no max, you don't have to wait for every 10 years to do it that way. So as was suggested earlier, it can be a quicker route through this process because there's less steps. A charter commission, as opposed to a committee, is a much more complex process that involves petitions and elections and then a process for review of potential charter changes. Even if they're more minute changes, the process is still fairly cumbersome. I've done a lot of charter changes with the towns I represent. There are some that are religiously adherent to the formal process, and that works for them. There are some that have amended their charters dozens of times through the shorter process. There's no right or wrong. It is a community's preference, and that should be honored by this legislative assembly. But there's no barrier or requirement that you wait so long for undertaking these processes. The special act route is shorter than the charter commission route with elected charter commission members, but that doesn't make it any more right or wrong for the community.
Further discussion of the motion to refer? Sir?
Madam Moderator.
Sir.
Pete Berube, Rose Road. If I understand the discussion points that have been made properly, the difference between the two methods really gets down to they're both appropriate. One may have advantages over another, but the reason that we've pursued, or that the town is pursuing thus far, change to the charter in the fashion that we are, is in order to expand the composition of the select board. And although we're not necessarily voting to implement that, the process with which we must follow to do it is the process which is being proposed. I, for one, am a proponent of expanding the select board. God bless our select people.
Excuse me, please keep your comments germane to the motion to refer in the process.
They do yeoman's work, but I think the town is better served with a composition of 5 select board, and that's why I advocate for the current process to continue to the benefit of the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Becky, 44 Walnut Street. I speak in favor of this referral. I think the shorter method does one thing that is not good for the town, and that is take out the vote of the citizens of the town several stages in the process. You shortcut that because it sounds like there's really no need for the citizens of the town as a whole to vote. And while I would like to hear arguments on all of it, I don't think any of it is of such a rush that we can't include all citizens voting in the town. So I am in favor of the referral.
Any further discussion of the motion to refer?
Madam Moderator. Yeah, I'll ask Mr. Tellman to correct me if I'm wrong, but this would still be referred back to the voters for a ballot question, as Ms. Vecchi had said. I don't think this bypasses the vote in the town at the ballot. It just goes to the legislature. What we bypass is the election of the charter committee and the petitioning to form the charter committee, but the voters would still vote to approve the charter as written. So it doesn't bypass the town having a vote on this.
Further discussion?
Yes, Madam Moderator. I just have to say.
Please identify yourself.
Lisa Harden,
Thank you.
Town Clerk. There is some question, a big question, as to whether it would come back to the town to be voted on, because the 2 previous times we've done charter amendments through the special act They never got voted on. One was changing the Board of Assessors from elected to appointed, and the other was putting in place a fall town meeting. The town never voted on a ballot for those two items. So I'm just telling the people here that there's no guarantee that the special act will allow you to vote in the future.
Madam Moderator?
I'm sorry. Oh, Mr. Riley.
Yeah, there's no guarantee about anything. I'm not sure if that's in favor or against the referral, but with respect to Ms. Veggi's comments, I would say, again, that the committee held over a dozen meetings over the course of a year and a half, and those are public meetings, and they were all posted, so anyone that wanted to could attend. I did have a question, however, for clarification from Mr. McCaffrey, if his amendment is to refer the entire article, all of Article 9?
My understanding of this motion is in fact a referral of the entire article as stated.
Just to respond, I think the proper way to do this, proper in the sense that making sure that the voters of Millis have as many cracks at this as the charter allows, is for the Charter Review Committee has made this recommendation, and to me the next step then was for them to go to the select board and say, let's begin to form the commission to get elected, because that's the next step to follow, not skip a step or run to the state legislature.
Any further discussion of the motion to refer for further consideration? Seeing no more discussion, this is a majority vote. All those in favor of the motion to refer for further consideration, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion to refer carries.
Nice.
With a majority. Article 10. Oh. No, take your time.
Madam Moderator.
Ms. Boyardi.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $40,000 for tree trimming and removal.
Article 10 has been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Madam Moderator.
Ms. Boyardi.
The town tree warden has been diligently earmarking trees that pose a danger to the community. Some will be removed, others will have their limbs trimmed. This has been an ongoing project to help keep the roads and citizens safe. The Finance Committee recommends approval of this article.
Article 10 has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, this is a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 10, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimously passes. Article 11.
Madam Moderator.
Mr. Berube.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $78,810 to fully fund the FY21 snow and ice deficit.
Second.
Article 11 has been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Madam Moderator.
Mr. Berube.
The intent of this article is to appropriate $78,810 from free cash to pay for expenses from last snow season. The snow and ice line of the operating budget is the only line which may run in deficit due to the unpredictability of required resources, both labor and expenses. The Finance Committee recommends approval of this article.
Any further discussion of Article 11? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Article 12.
Madam Moderator.
Mr. Stedman.
Article 12, I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $25,000 to the unemployment account.
Second.
Article 12's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Stedman.
this funding will restore the unemployment fund to the target amount. It is used by all town departments, including the school, and is reviewed prior to both the fall and spring town meetings. The Finance Committee, by unanimous vote, recommends approval of this article.
Further discussion of Article 12. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Article 13.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Stedman.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $7,300 for an OPEB actuarial study.
Second.
Article 13's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Stedman.
periodically the town is required to conduct an independent actuarial study to determine the long-term non-pension liabilities. This expenditure was not included in the budget approved in the Springtown meeting as it does not occur annually. Therefore, funding is being requested at this meeting. The Finance Committee unanimously recommends approval of this article.
Any further discussion of Article 13? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Article 13 passes unanimously. Article 14.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Reyes.
I move that the town vote to accept the fourth paragraph of MGL Chapter 41, Section 111F, which would allow the town to create a special injury leave indemnity fund to be expended by the Select Board.
Article 14's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Reyes.
this article is only requesting that this fund be established, but it is not requesting that any funds be appropriated at this time. This fund would be used as a reserve fund in order to offset the cost to the police and fire department's operating budgets for salary and shift coverage of police officers and firefighters who have sustained injuries in the performance of their duty. When a police officer or firefighter is injured on duty and is on paid leave, the town receives a payment from our insurance company for up to $1,000 per week that the employee is out of work. Under MGL Chapter 41S, 111F, police officers and firefighters are entitled to 100% of their salary while on injury leave, as opposed to workers' compensation, which is at a 60% of salary. In most cases, $1,000 per week is not sufficient to cover the entire salary and the related shift coverage. This new fund, if approved and if later funded, would be able to cover all costs related to the employee being out. The current average annual amount for paid injury leave in Millis is $96,000. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to approve this article.
Any further discussion of Article 14? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 15.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Boyardi.
Article 15, I move that the town vote to rescind the following approved but unissued debt authorizations. $96,000, Article 33 of the Spring Annual Town Meeting of 05/12/14 for the Water Street Pump Station Sewer Design Study. $28,000, Article 25 of the Spring Annual Town Meeting of 05/09/16 for the Street Sweeper. $11,800, Article 29 of the Spring Annual Town Meeting of 05/13/13 for Water System Improvement, Chlorine Contact Loop.
Article 15 has been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Boyardi.
these were funds that were approved but were never issued. It was unissued debt. Each project costs less than what was approved to be borrowed. Therefore, the request to rescind the approval but unissued debt authorization. The Finance Committee recommends approval of this article unanimously.
Any further discussion of Article 15? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Berube?
move to adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.